Welcome into this week's episode of Uncontested Investing. Suzanne and I are happy to be joined by Senior Vice President of Renovations at Offerpad, Bobby Triplett. Bobby,
Thanks for having me, guys.
So much for joining us in the studio.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
Well, thank you.
Where I start with every guest is pretty simple. Your start in the industry. What intrigued you about real estate? And can you kind of talk us through how you entered the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was like an intriguing thing that like, man, I've got to get into it. It was an opportunity that I couldn't say no to. In the restart of my life at that time, early 30s, we'll just call it, a good friend of mine, Corey Donahue, who was the president of Invitation Homes Florida at the time, out of the Tampa office, said, "Hey, I need a leader. I need some help. Will you come in, please?" And so he gave me my first start into it. So I started with escalations and vendor management, and then rehab and turn budgets, and ended up running the maintenance division there for a couple of years, and probably the most single stressful job I've ever had in my life. You know what I mean? Getting residents calling you at 3 a.m, because air conditions only break on the 4th of July when nobody's working and everybody else's air conditions are broken.
Indeed.
So did that, was with Invitation for a handful of years, and then got the opportunity to start Offerpad almost 9 years ago, and helped launch that company, which is a publicly traded firm now. And I oversee all the renovation operations nationwide.
Awesome.
Not a small task.
It is not. I have amazing people. So that makes it a heck of a lot easier.
So as head of a team that operates nationally, what do you value most as a leader and how you and your team operate?
I'd say kind of two things. The first one, the biggest value is ownership. When I'm looking for people that help us renovate the thousands of homes we buy every year, and then the thousands of homes we renovate on behalf of other investors, like, ownership matters more to anything to me. Like, so are you going to own the problem? Are you going to own the solution? Are you going to own the outcome? Are you going to own the phone call, the email, the whatever it was? Like, I'm not looking for finger pointers. I tell people all the time, my cardinal sin is kicking the can, where you make your problem somebody else's problem just because technically it could be, you know what I mean? That, one, those people don't stay on my team very long. And two, like, they will quickly see that the culture and what is celebrated on our team is a team of extreme ownership. And I love that. The other thing that I would just say is consistency. Like, I'm looking for somebody that is consistent, both in the way they communicate and the way that they show up and the way they treat their people and the way we treat our vendor partners, the way we treat our investors. And if they're taking ownership and they're consistent in that, like, we're going to win every time.
Both extremely important things. Thanks for sharing. Now, Offerpad is a major player in multiple states and major markets. Can you talk a little bit about hurdles of expansion, maybe things that have been easy to integrate, kind of the pros and cons of your journey?
Sure. Yeah. So we are an iBuyer, but we're more than just an iBuyer. We're a real estate solution center, helping to change the point of transaction and the buyer and the seller's real estate journey. For me, running the renovation side, expansion on paper sounds like it should be easy, where you have, all right, these data points here, this, everybody who's super smart, got in a room and said, we're going here. And then you realize that every single market has its own idiosyncrasies that will make you just pull your hair out. So, in Florida, for instance, this is where I'm from, we have this little thing called hurricanes all the time. So that makes, June through October a little bit tricky sometimes. And then, like, our roofs are the most expensive roofs that I put on in the country, are the ones here in Florida. I could do it for probably half the cost and three quarters of the rest of the states than what I could do here. But, you walk into another market in the Midwest and it's more labor union friendly state, and I can't get somebody to show up to paint the house, for less than an arm and a leg. Yeah. And it's ridiculous. Like, sometimes 2 times more expensive than I am in a southern state that doesn't have labor union concentration. So every place that we've seen, if you're trying to just do it on paper, you're going to find out real quickly, whether it's municipalities and permitting or labor force, or, when we first went into the Nashville market in the Carolinas, they have these things called crawl spaces. Everything in Texas and Arizona and Florida is slab on grade. You know what I mean? And then out you have these little crawl spaces, which, every buyer wants theirs to look pristine, even though that house was built in 1943. Yeah. So now, how do we manage this? How do we go, problem solve? So I would just say no two markets are alike, even if they say they are.
It's very true. So you and your company work with a number of vendor partners.
We do.
How do you find your match for that for Offerpad?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very big proponent of setting the expectations up front. Like in this, I truly believe they are partners. They need to make money and we need to save money. So we got to meet somewhere in the middle. There's got to be enough money for them to want to show up to my job, right? To want to take my phone call over somebody else's in an emergency situation. And at the same time, I still have to be a good steward to our investment on that project or our clients' investment on that project. So we set the expectations pretty crystal clear at the beginning. Anytime we'd go into a new market, we're doing some advertising on all the places you could think of, like the Thumbtacks and the Craigslist and the, LinkedIn's. And then, but more than that, we're calling everybody that is already a partner in an existing state or existing market. Like, who do you know? Because somebody's got a friend or a colleague or uncle or a brother, or states that have a lot of SFR presence. It's typically easier to find them because they're used to them. When we first started expanding into the Midwest, call it 5 years ago, some of these states did not have major SFR players. And so we would churn through vendors till we could find somebody that could understand it from a partnership level, as opposed to, well, I charge retail for this, so I'm going to charge you retail. Well, no, I'm going to give you wholesale volume. Yeah. So we're going to talk about a wholesale price.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always go well the first 20 times,
Sure.
But once you find somebody who catches your vision, and honestly, that's on us as leaders, business leaders. What kind of vision are we casting? One, is it a believable one? Two, is it something that's also good for them? Because if it's only good for us, like, that's not really a partnership.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how do you keep that running smoothly then?
Hire incredible people. So when I'm hiring directors in every market, especially in market expansion, they're owning the day-to-day relationship. And if I'm just cracking the whip, more bricks, less straw, the whole 9 yards, like, it's going to break down real fast. I try to hire people who have like a coach or a leadership mindset so that when somebody steps in it, because it's going to happen, or when it hits the fan, because that's going to happen. If renovation was easy, I wouldn't have had a career for the last decade. Like, taking a partnership approach or a coaching approach, help me help you, as opposed to one and done. Mm-hmm. And, we do market level vendor meetings pretty regularly. Yeah. Bringing sometimes vendors in, new vendors to meet our field teams so that they know the people they're about to work with. Mm-hmm. We try to be pretty intentional too on, handing off a new trade partner or subcontractor to a field project manager to make sure, okay, hey, Chase, this is Suzanne's new HVAC company. I want you to meet her. This is where they're at. They're going to be in this part of town. Let's give her a shot on this, so that way you're not flying blind and alone, because then usually you're going to, swing and miss.
Well, and you have someone to connect with should there be an issue on either side of that equation.
Yeah, totally agree. And
at Offerpad, you offer a program or a product called Renovate for your clients.
We do.
What are some key components of that and kind of what sets you apart from competition?
Yeah, so in the space, we're one of the few, if maybe that buy, renovate, and sell our own homes, thousands of a year, and then we leverage my W-2 employees to then renovate on behalf of other investors, from the largest REOs, some mid-sized REITs, some single-family, private fix and flippers, private, all the way through. So they're getting, instead of having to go out and hire those employees, you know what I mean? Every major REIT, every major SFR has a me, right? They've got somebody in charge of renovation, and they spend millions of dollars a year because it's a very big problem. Mm-hmm. Renovation is not easy, especially if you're trying to do it on time and towards budget.
Your budget.
Yeah, yes. So, but the private shops or the mid-sized shops might not have a budget to be able to do that. So what we offer is, you're basically leasing my capacity. So if I'm staffed to do 100 houses a month in Atlanta, but we only bought 65, I've got capacity, and we'll have people knocking down our doors to ask us to renovate on their behalf. So they'll get our industry expertise, mm-hmm. the guy, project managers, renovation directors, vendor relationships. Because one of the most frustrating thing, if you've ever tried to get somebody to show up to your house that you called off a Craigslist or Thumbtack, is for them to show up at their appointment. It's funny. I had somebody, even just this last week, I was trying to steam clean a couch for my wife before she was out of town to like surprise her. Hey, I have a twin 5-year-old. So you can imagine how messy that couch gets. And, confirm the appointment, confirm the day of, no call, no show. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not a vendor that I use, so it was a new one I had to find for upholstery cleaning. And even that, like, this is what I do. And I still, when you have people that are fixing and flipping or might have a smaller operation on an SFR side, or they're trying to manage it remotely. And that's the other part. To have pre-vetted vendors and project managers who know how to get people to show up. And the second part of that is because I have boots on the ground in every market that I know, they're my employees. They're there to renovate my homes, and then we also renovate your homes. You get their eyes, their ears, they're managing the construction schedule. They're raising a flag if something's going wrong. They're holding people to task. And, technology still has not been able to smell a picture yet. The technology keeps us efficient and helps us all this. And technology in the hands of a dishonest vendor can cost you a lot of money and, more importantly, a lot of time.
Sure.
Bad resident experience, bad resale. So having our people there advocating for your project, that goes a long way. And it really gives a peace of mind.
Yep.
Sure.
All right. Well, we're off to a great start with Bobby Triplett. Stay tuned after this break, and a word from our sponsors. We're going to dive into Deal Breaker, Deal Maker, and get into some market data and deal sourcing with Bobby Triplett. RCN Capital offers flexible loan programs designed to help wholesale partners close their clients' deals faster. From fix and flip properties to long-term rentals, new construction, and multifamily investments, we provide your clients with the funding solutions they need. With competitive terms and a quick approval process, we make it easy to focus on growing your business while we handle the financing. Learn more or apply today. Click the link in our bio or email info@rcncapital.com. Let RCN Capital help take your wholesale deals to the next level. And we're back with this week's guest, Bobby Triplett. Welcome back to our audience on Uncontested Investing. We're going to get right into it with our first segment of the episode, Deal Breaker, Deal Maker. Now, Bobby, for this segment, what we want our guests to talk about is a moment in their career, potentially a turning point or a launching pad, something that you can think back to that's propelled you to the success you've experienced up until today.
Sure. Early on in my career with Offerpad, I was just running Tampa. I oversaw that market, had team of project managers, and we had our Atlanta team was probably our largest deal volume that was happening, but we could not hit a metric to save our life up there. And so I was asked by my leader at that time hey, can you help mentor this director up there? Great guy, but things were not moving well. And really, I was flying to Atlanta probably every other week for 90 days, stepping in, trying to help him course correct, trying to change. Ended up, we made a decision, and he moved on from the company. But here I am, like, I'm now in charge of Atlanta. I live in
the can.
Yeah. I mean, great guy. Just it was not the right fit. You know what I mean? And so I'm running Tampa and Orlando, and then now I've just been given Atlanta, and it was like that holy crap moment. Like, let's go. So for me, the drive to have to be organized, to have to be clear in my expectation, and then very deliberate with the time that I'm going to spend on the training. So I'll never forget as long as I live. I took over an office in Atlanta. I'm only coming up a couple days a week because I have young kids at home, and I drew a map. I don't even know where anything is in the greater metro. Like, I don't know where Marietta is or Douglasville or, Lithonia. I was like, I'm from Tampa. I can tell you everywhere here, right? So I'm drawing a map, and then I'm like, our biggest problem was efficiency in the field. We had guys that would swear to me all day long they could only get to 2 houses a day. I'm like, listen, I know the traffic is bad, and it is very bad, but we gotta be better than this. So I'm mapping, give me everybody's home address. And so I plotted all over the map, and then I'm realizing that previous leadership had guys passing each other to get to houses. And it was it's so stupid and so simple, but I was like, no, you are taking everything in this piece of the pie. You are taking everything in this piece of the pie. I don't care if this guy has more than you this month or next week you have more than him. I'd rather you be more efficient. We went from nobody ever being able to qualify for bonuses, the market never hitting any of our renovation metrics, to within 60 days, it was one of the most like well-oiled machines. And to this day, almost all of those project managers and directors are still with me.
Nice.
7 years later, 6 years later, and they are a powerhouse. And they went from everyone I thought was about ready to jump off the ship and quit on me to
We get a bonus.
yeah.
So it's
And long tenured relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, because turnover
Nice.
will crush your ability to scale.
Sure.
And so I'm very proud of that team, very proud of that they're still with me, you know what I mean? And that we're still making magic happen in the field.
So when you enter a new market, what are the key data points that you should focus on or an investor should focus on as they assess a property?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit different for the investor type. And we've been working a lot more with private family shops or smaller, like sub 500 door SFRs lately. And the first thing is going to be like, is it scalable for them, right? Because a lot of people will walk away from deals because the relationship in a new market is not there, or they haven't gained the trust yet. And so the first thing I'm looking at least for me, from my side of the fence, the renovation side, is like, what kind of relationships do I already have? How fast can I deepen and build a bench from trade partners, from like, and then how, let's see the right word here, how opposed are the municipalities to you actually getting the work done, right?
Doesn't happen.
No, ever. No, I don't have a laundry list of cities that don't do that every day. So that's a big deal because, one of the reasons why we're not in a handful of markets that we've had a lot of, board members and other investors ask us to go, because I can't give you a confident yes that I can hit the numbers that we need to be profitable in a market that doesn't make it easy for people to renovate. So that's a big one, at least from my side of the fence. I mean, there are other data points, obviously, about, population influx, median sales prices, days on market are a big one. What's the inventory look like? But for me, what I can control, if I'm going to be able to check the box so that an acquisitions person can buy a house that performs, I have to know, what are the red tape? What are the roadblocks? What are the relationships that I currently have so that I can scale faster? Or is this, hey, I can do it, but I can do 2 at a time, not 100. You know what I mean? And then is that worth the investment? Is that worth the end? So those are things that I think every investor needs to have a conversation about.
How has technology reshaped the way investors should be analyzing market data?
I think, one, there is a lot of data out there, in years past, when this industry was just being born or birthed, like it was harder to come by the stuff that is so readily available right now. So leveraging some of the different inspection opportunities that are out there, some of the different data companies that are giving you histories on the properties beforehand without you having to go physically mine them yourselves through property appraisal reports, like the amazing amount of technology that is readily available with different title companies, with different insurance opportunities. Like, one, it should help make decisions a lot faster. You know what I mean? And then I think the other part, like as investors are coming in, like being informed, most of us in the renovation space, we know what our pricing is. We've got for me, it's all market specific, like the same price to paint here in Tampa is not the same price to paint in St. Louis, or the same price in Las Vegas, or the same price in Denver. But I know exactly what I can pay every day of the week in every single market.
Right.
So those kind of data points too, which I think are critical from an acquisition side, like how can I underwrite with confidence? If we do not have our data in line, then that directly affects the confidence of the acquisition price. And then if it's not in line and we bought unconfidently or underwrote uninformed, and then we come out on a renovation side and don't hit what we think we were going to promise, well, now that just destroyed disposition, right? Or destroyed
Or the
rental cap.
whatever you have going on there. So yeah.
And I would say the thing that hopefully, when my early tenure, in the SFR world, it was still, or we should say, building the ship mid-flight. And so a lot of different divisions were siloed. I think one of the most important things now is increasing communication across divisions. Like, a renovation team is not an afterthought anymore because it directly affects dispo and acquisition. And disposition is not just a pipe dream because it directly affects what we're going to do in the field. And so that cohesion of the data is a really big deal.
Yeah. And with that, we're going to take our final break of today's episode. Our sponsors are going to jump in here. We'll be right back with Bobby Triplett, and we'll do What's the Word? Stay tuned.
REI Inc. is the premier monthly publication for real estate investors. Dive into a wealth of expert insight and strategies from industry leaders and gain valuable regional market insights, ensuring you always have the best information at your fingertips. Visit rei-ink.com to elevate your real estate investment game today.
Welcome back to this week's episode of Uncontested Investing. We're having a great time and a great conversation with Offerpad's Bobby Triplett. And Bobby, it's time for What's the Word? So in this segment, it's going to be a word or a motto that you've used as inspiration throughout your career, or maybe what you're taking with you in 2025 and beyond.
I think whether it's my kids or every one of my employees, like they've heard it once, they've heard it 1,000 times. It's the phrase, leave it better than you found it. And at everything that we do, like that is, personally, that's a driving force, obviously we're not all perfect at it. And I'm sure I've left things worse than I found it. You can ask my mom.
But no one knows.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But, if we can leave the email, the handoff across the aisle, if we can leave the property, if we can leave the neighborhood, honestly, if I can leave my vendor partners better than I found them, right? If I can leave my stockholders and shareholders and my different clients better, like I know that if I can move the needle on an ROI, or if I can put one of my plumber's kids through college because I've got business, or if I've created a career, not just a job for one of my project managers, like that matters.
Sure.
Not just on the end result, but in how you get to the end result. I feel like if we are operating with a leave it better than you found it mentality, we're going to have a heck of a lot more fun in the process. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that message. And I think no matter what position you find yourself within the industry, carrying that motto and using that, it's going to do a lot of good.
Well, and having buy-in from your team.
Yeah.
You're a family. You have a work family,
Yeah.
you have a home family.
100%.
And I think it's important that they know that they matter and they count in that strategy.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like for me, I'm looking at success with a lot of the tenure of the people that I've had. I want them to know that at any opportunity I can, I'm doing whatever I can to try to leave them better than I found it too.
Sure.
Whether that's just from a salary or from a work environment or culture, you know what I mean?
Sure. Once an investor has identified an off-market property, what's the first steps they should take to assess its potential for ROI?
I think the first step is you got to know what the win is on the property. Is this a buy and hold? Is this a fix and flip?
Sure.
Or, hey, are we just trying to wholesale it out? And so, then once you're there, when it comes to us, we don't do the same thing on every house because that's not the right real estate decision. The thing, okay, if I'm going to fix and flip this, I might not do things that I absolutely would do to maximize an ROI on a single family rental, right?
Sure.
So
Even selection of product in that.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Like if it's a rental, I'm not putting a stitch of carpet in this house. Like what can I do to minimize, maintenance calls, or, we have a lot of repair replace guidelines for our SFR partners that aren't always used on a fix and flip or an Offerpad owned home. You know what I mean? That we're renovating and reselling. I tell people all the time, imagine this is your house and you're renovating it to sell it, not you're renovating it to live in it. Like I want to make sure that when somebody buys one of our homes that one, I've left it better than I found it, but two, that it's insurable, it's safe, it's clean, they can imagine their family there. But that doesn't mean everything is brand new.
Yep.
I'll use the line, and I'm sure it's cheesy, but it's more of a certified pre-owned. You know what I mean? There's still a few scratches and dents, and we didn't decide to fix those things. But hey, we know it's going to be insurable. We know it's safe. We know a family can be proud to move in there and then begin to make it their own.
Sure.
As we move on, I think you can't go a day or a week in this business without hearing about the MLS. It's not kind of an investor's holy grail, right? But how important is it for them to find alternative solutions to find deals, specifically when they're even off market?
Yeah, I mean, partnerships are a big deal. And even for us, like, so for the first 8 years, every home that we bought, was predominantly through Offerpad.com. People would go there, we'd make them an instant cash offer on their house. That's how we acquired homes. And we have developed relationships with wholesalers around the country too, because, in this current market, people are locked in because of the, very low interest rate and very high equity. So it's harder to acquire homes right now. So having wholesale partners, having other opportunities, other investor portals, or, whatever they could possibly be, like, there's a big opportunity for partner because nobody is cornering the market. And if you're trying to gain volume, if you're trying to gain speed in pursuit of that ROI, I think it's incredibly important.
So what are some of the biggest advantages when acquiring an off-market property? And what are some of the pitfalls you should avoid?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely comes to, is it in your buy box, the right buy box? We don't want a square peg round hole just so that we can get a property. I mean, anybody can buy a property, but the idea is, can you get a property, renovate it, and make it perform? And so sometimes, a pitfall that people will chase is, I need the volume, I need the deal, this looks good enough, you know what I mean? And then there's too much hair on it, right? Or it's too big of a project, or, it's too capital intensive. We have all sorts of parameters and stuff on our acquisition side that I am not the authority of. So they would laugh at me if I try to, talk with any sense of authority on that. But I would say that's definitely the biggest pitfall, is making sure that you're not trying to force a deal that's there. But, some of the good news about it is like, you're getting sometimes some insider information from, like, hey, I've already had somebody walk this house. Here's 100 pictures of the inside, or, you know what I mean? So you're able to get a more informed underwrite sometimes than if somebody, has just got their 12 pictures on the MLS. You know what I mean?
Sure. And you have to remove the emotion out of that too.
Sure.
And I think that sometimes is a piece that people have a difficult time, whether it's the need to buy it,
Sure,
or they think they can do something with it that's perhaps a little outside their scope of expertise.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. I'm not that.
I'm from the South. It's gonna
Not that
happen.
old.
So, Bobby, off-market deals are probably the most popular, but how important is it for investors to be navigating these different channels to find deals? You have direct mail, maybe social media, even networking with industry peers. There's so many different opportunities that investors can tap into.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm by no means the authority on the marketing side of, this, but I 100% believe that partnerships will always put you in a better position. I am not an expert in things, so that I will partner with people who are. And, the more that you're spending time around people that maybe know things more than you, or are smarter than me, or however you want to say it, like, the opportunity for the right doors to open is going to present itself better than if you're just, banging your head on the same tired channel every single time.
No, it's always a positive reminder too, because I think a lot of times investors get into this industry with such a narrow focus and feeling like they have to do it on their own to reap the most rewards or the biggest benefit. But it really is a collaborative process when you think about it. There's so many people that rely on so many people in order to succeed in this business.
And I think partnerships, like, whether it's acquisitions, for me, obviously, like, partnerships and renovations matter, both for the people that are helping me renovate and then the people that I get to help renovate. Collectively, we're sharing some burden, right? We're sharing wisdom. I could tell you exactly what not to do, to how to lose money on renovating a house. I've done that a time or 10, 100, even, whatever. But that allows what I feel like a little bit of the pressure to come off the person to pretend that they've got everything all figured out.
Yeah.
Sure. So what are some of the best practices then for an investor to keep their deal pipeline full? And then how can they scale to maintain that?
I mean, I sound like a broken record, but find the people you can partnership first. Make sure that the channels of the data or the deals, that they're the right deals and the right data that you want to. It would be silly to waste your time, mulling through stuff that this is not the type of stuff I want.
Yeah.
The second one is to make sure that as they're keeping their pipeline full, it's they've defined what their buy box looks like. Here's what my win is. Here's 100% what I'm looking for, and then communicate that with your partner. So as they come by, then it's top of mind, top of mind. We have a whole division in our company. We call it Direct Plus, which is very much that, where we help source deals for, all of the big SFRs, all of the big REITs, and then even private investors that, have realized like, hey, you have so many properties that are coming that are non-MLS, coming through offerpad.com. Can we get some of them? And that answer is yes.
Sure. Well, the asset acquisition, that's the piece that starts it, was finding it. And so finding a partner like Offerpad is key to that success.
Yeah. We like partners. We like to help leave everybody better than we found them. I don't know if you guys heard that yet in this,
Maybe
in this interview.
Yeah.
Well, Bobby, this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much. I think the last place we want to discuss is Offerpad and what's next. Any big goals, any big projects? What does the rest of 2025 look like for you?
I mean, we are staying busy. My team is, it's been exciting. All the amount of new clients that we've onboarded this year as renovation partners has been a humbling, one, and two, exciting, as we really get a chance to show them what whether single family rental or fix and flip could be. Mm-hmm. So my team's, it's funny, at any given day, I have a project manager could be renovating for 5 or 6 different clients and for Offerpad at the same time too. And so I'm excited. I get to see all of my leaders next week. It's been the first time, in a while that we've gotten to get all of the directors from around the country. So a big project for me is I spend a lot of time doing leadership development in my people. If I can help elevate them as a man or a woman leader, then I know they're going to be a better director. And so I've got some surprises I've been working on and some talks that we're going to do. And then can't wait to look back at the end of the year, just like last year, and see the number of people we've been able to impact like that. I mean, I take a lot of pride in that. And so it's fun. It's good. I'm still having a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hey, that's no longer work then.
Yes, ma'am.
There we go again.
So there you have it. If you're an investor in the space or even a vendor in the industry, Bobby Triplett is the guy you need to speak with, and Offerpad is the company you need to work with. For Suzanne Andreessen, I'm Nate Zielinski. Bobby Triplett, thank you once again.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much, Bobby.
We'll see you guys on the next episode of Uncontested Investing.
See you soon.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook, and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.